So
For
you did
live
not go
live.
to JPM this week. JPM's the big
Did not.
health conference. Um,
Correct.
how often do you normally go? Always?
Yes, the last 2 years I went.
And you didn't. And the reason we didn't go is because we're reinventing healthcare with System C, and JPM is System B.
Correct.
But we have spies out there.
There's spies out there. We do have spies out there. I
We're
don't
not.
think that the person who has said that there are the resistance system
Well,
C. This.
we're ripping the Band-Aid off. We posted on Monday.
Yep. We doubled
And
down. We doubled down on. There's no need. We've been sniffing out for the last couple of years who the System C players are that are incumbents within System B, or they're disenfranchised with System B and they want to build System C. And I feel like that's why I didn't go to JPM, because we've got a good enough core, and it's a waste of time to go out there and go to a bunch of happy hours at East Coast time. It feels like you start at 9 o'clock at night, you go till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning East Coast time, you wear yourself out, and it's a bunch of tech bros wearing their uniform vests. Sorry.
if we're going to embrace System C, we have to burn the bridges behind us.
That's hard for me because I spent 34 years in healthcare. I will say, this was the text I got. I feel like the rebel spy now.
There we go. We're not going to say who the spies are, but they
No,
exist. And
they do
there
exist.
are many. And if somebody wants to be the spies, please let us know. If you've got additional spies that want to join the team, it's nothing wrong with System B. We just cannot design System C and think about it correctly without taking a first principle look of how to do System C bottoms up. You can't simply re-engineer System B to be better at this point. You have to engineer the right answer to begin with, and then maybe tuck in System B as we go along. We wrote about that on Monday in the sort of first principles article. We're living it by not going to JPM. And that's okay. Which means we've been going a little nuts with Claude code. And the idea there is, if you don't, we're the knowledge workers. We understand the problem. Forever, knowledge workers have had to go to get programmers to articulate what they want, and now Claude Code lets us articulate it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Ellen, you called me up this afternoon after doing a deep dive on your healthcare. We, about this time last year, February, I took my function health data and posted it off of ChatGPT and shared it as, look, it can sort of analyze things. And it did a pretty good job telling me what my diet should be and things. But you took the next level challenge and went down a rabbit hole today. And that's why we've decided to have this meeting tonight, is so that everybody can see your rabbit hole.
Yes. And I called you twice. She didn't pick up the first time. And I couldn't.
I was in the middle of working with our ops team. We spent 4.5 hours on the phone and wrote 3 apps that will save us 50 hours a quarter, if not more.
Yep.
And a huge amount of grief.
So we're live. Apparently I can I want
to make a shout out. I'm on the Prolon diet this week to make up for Christmas. And so I'm
how's that going for you?
It's a little ornery.
So today's your first day of 800 calories, right?
It's my second day of the diet. I've done this diet multiple times.
I know you have, but
I shall overcome. Okay, let's dive in. This is really pretty awesome. And what we want to do is, if anybody else wants to do this, I think maybe we'll host a call. When Ellen showed this, I was like, you know what? We should just do a deep dive with anybody who wants to. If they want to share it, let's rip the Band-Aid off of HIPAA. Let's stop all those kind of nuttiness. We're not going to be unprivate so that people can learn from it. And I think that the fear that this is bad for people because it's not a doctor, I think my viewpoint on this is doctors have a bunch of knowledge. Customers have a bunch of knowledge, patients. But patients don't have enough knowledge to understand what the doctors are saying to them. And so you can use this tool to replace your doctor, or you can use these tools to help you upgrade yourself so that you can have an effective conversation with healthcare. And the System C viewpoint is, let's remove the friction between patient and people that know what they're doing, doctor, nutritionist, whatever. And so this is more about reducing that friction than it is trying to replace doctors.
Correct. So, all right, I'm just going in to this link. I'm just trying to make sure that I am here. You know what? Sorry, I just totally botched this up. It's not, apparently.
What's not?
There we go.
You basically went into Claude AI, which I think people know is a chatbot, and you created a project.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So I just have to let you know we apparently are not. Let's see. I'm just trying to see if we are actually live somewhere, if I did it right. And then I'm going to stop. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like there's something funky going on here. But okay. So here's what happened.
Don't worry about that.
So I'm gonna start with so the deal is ChatGPT announced last week ChatGPT Health, and everybody in incumbent healthcare kind of went crazy. Okay. Then on Sunday, timed because of JP Morgan Health, right? Anthropic announced that they were launching Claude for healthcare. Now, the thing you have to know about ChatGPT Health is it wasn't actually live. It's a wait list. So everybody got excited. They went out. They had to sign up. Anthropic through Claude announces you go out there and they're like, it's live now. They've already got what they call connectors with something called HealthX, which is really a it's an aggregation of a bunch of EMR data on your behalf. It's an aggregator.
Yeah, it can suck in all your EMR data.
Well, not all. See, this is key, is if you're like me and you've seen a bunch of one-off doctors, you're kind of host. Your EMR isn't going to show up in there, right? But if you go to a health system, that has Cerner or Epic, you're going to be able to have all your data imported into HealthX. And then theoretically, what's supposed to happen is you set up the connector, and then Function Health also has a connector. And then they're rolling out this week in beta, and I haven't checked the app today. Maybe I will while we're on this call. They are rolling out a connector with Claude and Apple Health and Android Health. Now, what's important with the connector is you can use it to make it really easy, but you don't need it to use Claude for healthcare. And that's what I figured out. So what happened was I got all excited. I went through the motions. I made the time investment because when you go into HealthX or you go into Claude, whatever you want to do, you have to, in HealthX, you log in, it clears you, it does clear me. So it does a security verification, your ID. And then it starts pulling all your health records. You start putting your physician names in or your health systems, whatever. It kind of finds some of it on its own. You just sort of go through this. But every one of those portals that your data's in, you have to sign in. It prompts you. It creates a pop-up. You have to say, you know, Ellen at wherearethebrowns.com. I put my password in, and then boom, it connects. And you have to do this over and over again. So for me, I had health data back from 2016 that I wanted in this thing, right? I'm like, crap. And some of them I didn't even ever set up. So I had to go in and do that. So it took me.
Pause. Please pause. Can I wrap this up in this conversation?
Well, I want people to know what they're getting into here.
Yeah, but hold on a second. Let's put this in context. So we're early days.
Yes.
We have had Epic and Cerner and everybody running around trying to organize and data in various particular ways designed for their proprietary interests and for customer interests, whatever. In their view.
Yes.
We now have LLMs showing up that may be very general purpose and structure and not be originally designed to be health data. And there's a bit of a competition between sort of Epic and Cerner saying, we have your data, it's very organized, it's going to be in this particular way, and we want to make sure it's just right. And we have sort of Claude and OpenAI saying, we're going to put your data together somehow, and we're going to look at it, and we're going to give you more advice about it. And then there's some fights in the background as to whether that's okay.
Yep.
Now, Claude and OpenAI, it seems like the OpenAI team, people have said, well, people are really worried about HIPAA, and we want to make sure we're HIPAA compliant. So we're going to have a slow roll here.
Exactly.
We're going to build this system. We're going to have a special container. We're going to protect people's data.
Yep.
Which is fine. There are 320 million people in the United States, and maybe 180 million of them really are terrified that there might be a drone overhead taking pictures of them naked. But
which is what happened to me. Thank you for throwing that out there. Anybody who's watching, this is what happened to me on Sunday. I have an outdoor shower that's very protected, but not overhead. And apparently you need to pay attention.
Had some drones overhead looking anyway. So there's a choice. And so in the innovation world, we're in System C. And for right now, we're running without HIPAA shields. And so it looks like Claude has sort of not been so sensitive about that. Whatever, maybe, maybe not. We don't care. And they've created more interfaces. And so Health X is a step in that direction. Good thing. But I actually really fascinated about what you did. Let's come back to that. If we were live, people could ask us, but we're not going to do that.
Well, so, no, we are live. We are, in fact, live. Okay. We are on. We are live.
Let's not worry about it, please. We are live. We're recording. But I want to, let's go to, you went to Claude and did what?
Okay.
You went to Claude AI, which is the chat service. There's also Claude Code that we talk about, which lets you code. There are sort of two different services from Claude. We're going to talk about the chat service right now. So do you want to bring up what you did?
Yes. You want me to show what I did already? Or you want me to explain?
Let's show people how easy this is. Okay. By the time that we get to the end of this, they should be able to do this themselves and not worry about health hacks.
Okay, but before I show them, okay, yeah, I will do this. Okay, hold on.
Just step them through it.
That's what I'm going to do.
People should be able to do this themselves. And as she's bringing it up, I'll say what you can do is, whether you get it from HealthX, whether you download it from your Epic, whether you have
correct
a hoarder like Ellen in health data that goes back for a long time. I have Garmin data back to 2009 or something like that. You have it in various spots, and you can just dump it into the LLM as a thing.
And that's what I did. So
we want to show you that magic trick.
Correct, which I'm going to show. So, all right, let me share my screen, and hopefully it doesn't blow everything up bandwidth-wise.
And it may.
Yep. Screen. Claude.
If you pay attention to this part, you might be able to do this yourself right after the call. And if you can't, we'll send a link up and hold a meeting and let somebody do this themselves.
Do you see it?
I cannot.
Okay. Well, I'm Choose what you want me to do. I think it's just lagging. Okay. I don't think it liked that. Hold on. Try this again. Okay, now you should be able to see this.
Okay, Ellen returns.
So I have my projects. So I created a project.
So a project, for everybody's benefit, a project is sort of a folder that says, I want to talk about this topic. You can tell a project, you can add files to it to give it memory. Say, here are 50 documents that I want you to pay attention to in my project. And you can give it instructions to say, whenever I ask questions of this project, I want you to act in this way. So we have projects that help us write. We have a project for Food is Health that helps us write our articles on Food is Health. Anyway, we use different projects. Ellen created one called My Health Optimization.
This is mine. And then in the project, when you set up a new project, there's memory, and then there's instructions, and then you can add files.
You want to open up
putting them all in there. What's that?
You want to open up
I'll open it up in a second. Yeah, so I just wanted to give everybody kind of a sense of what this looks like, okay? And then these are like the normal prompts that you would do. Okay, so this is what I wrote as the instructions for this project, all right?
Pretty straightforward. I have some of these instructions that are, 1,000 words long, and some of them I have short.
I mean, this is about as basic. This is like as basic, bare bones as you get. I mean, like very basic. But I'm a big fan. Right, but I think what's important is, like, for me, it's really important that I care about health span. I don't want somebody to tell me how to stay alive in like the worst condition possible until I'm 100. I want a good life, a healthy life, right? I want to be picking up suitcases when I'm 80.
Yeah, so I think it's important so this is your health optimization. So as you say, you're doing lifespan. You don't necessarily care exactly what the doctor says. You have other things.
I'm doing health span. Right. So I said to Claude, I want you to take all my stuff.
And you could set up these instructions to say, it's important that, if I live well from a chronic disease, but if I get an acute disease, I don't want end of life care. Or you could extend it to explain how you want to live your life. You still there, Ellen? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm here.
For some reason. Okay, so
go ahead. It's just a little.
Hit cancel.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I will.
All right, I just want to show everybody, if you go to memory, what you can do is, I think.
But I did not write this. I want everybody to understand. I did not write this.
Don't worry about that part. Let's close memory.
Yeah, that's going to confuse people, I think. That is what, let me just say this. Wait a minute. Anybody who saw that is what Claude created for itself based on my prompts, based on what it was finding. That is the story it told itself. Just so everybody knows. I did not populate the memory. These are the files.
Now, files. So show what you did with files.
So I input, these are all of my health records. So LabCorp, I went out and I downloaded one by one.
I got to let the dog out.
Okay. So I'll just tell everybody. So I went one by one from 2016, and I have I have 277 biomarker elements in here. And I had to And honestly, what's crazy about this is I did it very manually, and it took me probably all told 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Like, it really wasn't it'll seem like a tremendous amount of time. It really wasn't. I just went in and like downloaded each of these files for LabCorp. Then I did the same thing with Quest. I went into all of the various different physician portals that mattered to me. I then downloaded all of those particular health records. I went into HealthX, even though I couldn't get HealthX connected with this. I went into HealthX and I had it produce my personalized health record, what it produces. And I put all of that, I hit the plus sign and I put it all in here.
How many files?
I don't know. How many is this?
You have Pronova in there too?
Yeah, I have my Pronovo file. I had a Beam. So I think what's important for people to know, I had a really bad mold exposure that prompted a whole slew of health conditions that basically promulgated and sort of made me think I had MS back in 2018. It was horrific. And I ended up going down a hellish diagnostic rabbit hole. I ended up with biopsies and MRIs and insane amounts of lab tests. I ultimately went to a functional doctor later, went through this whole thing. Food is what got me fixed. Nobody could figure anything out. I would sit at my computer for 6 hours and do 30 minutes of work. I finally went, nothing was working. All the doctors I saw, I finally was like, screw it. I'm going to do, so I got, what's that organic, fresh, whatever, one of the boxes. And I couldn't even cook. And my husband cooked dinner every night with this fresh organic food. And I did a Walls protocol, Terry Walls. I did her MS protocol. Yeah. I finally got better. Took 6 months and I was like back to being human again. And then I went down this all thing. So all of this isn't a normal person's data. So I have a Beam report for my brain, EEG, all these different various things. I put them all in here. As then you guys know I'm health hacker. So like last year when I went to JP Morgan, I went and had a DEXA fit scan. There's a actual facility right in San Francisco. So I went and got that done. I put that in here. I had the Pronuvo enhanced scan that you and I both did. The lab results from that. There's an enhanced EEG that you get as part of that on top of the MRI. I dumped all that in here. I put it all in here.
Go to the top, to the plus sign, and click the plus sign for a second. So for everybody's benefit, you can don't hit that part yet. So it allows you to do a few things. So you can upload from your device and PDFs and things. You can go to a Google Drive. If you've got that integrated, you can integrate with other things. But the other thing you might want to do for those people who really geek is you can hook it to GitHub. I realized that, and I've done this myself, and I just put all my health data in a private GitHub repo. And now I realize I can add that to Claude, or I can add it to OpenAI, and it keeps track of it and keeps track of duplicates and does controls. So that's sort of cool.
It's super cool. I haven't done the GitHub part. I mean, I did this. I'm like as basic as it comes in terms of what I did, other than the time I took to put all this stuff in there. All right.
So why don't we have into your plan?
Well, that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So the first so you saw the instructions, right? And then what I did, so this is an evolution. So what's really interesting is like I started with a limited set of the data, and it got me interested. So like once I don't want to share all this yet. I just want to go back and show the prompt. So the prompt that I used on top of the instructions, right? The first prompt that I used when I first started doing the data was very simple, which was using what you know. This was my prompt. Using what you know about my health data from the project files. Can you give me an overview of what I should do to be the healthiest version of myself? That's what I typed in. That's all I typed in. Nothing important, nothing impressive, okay? And I remember the instructions were based on HealthSpan using Peter Attia's framework. All right? So now I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to share something different. And so this is what blew my mind. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars over the years on functional doctors and all sorts of things. And I got this from Claude with that prompt. Here is the file. So I'm going to start with this. I generated 3 different reports. So it took, I mean, anybody's watching this or listening, it took all of that data. What was that, Carter? Like 60 files at least?
Something like that. Yeah.
And a simple prompt and simple instructions. So 2 lines of instructions and 60 files. And it created a comprehensive health optimization report with a cover page that says the 4 horsemen, which anybody who knows Peter Attia, that's what he talks about, is the 4 horsemen of health. The summary slide says the 4 horsemen assessment: cardiovascular, low risk; metabolic, exceptional; neurodegenerative, monitor; cancer, low risk. That's what it did for me to start with, right?
Like, well, and this is just for everybody's benefit. This is a 12-page report. So this is
correct.
The top. It created a Word document.
Then it gave me an executive summary, and it gave me an overall assessment where it pulled up the key domains that are part of this, and it gave me a status, and then it prioritized it. So it pulled, and these are the metrics. They pulled metrics that Peter Attia looks at in his 4 horsemen. So again, we will inevitably play around with this. We'll use different constructs, which I did as we go through, as we look at the 2 additional reports that I created. So then it goes through cardiovascular risk markers, metabolic health, body composition, cardiovascular fitness, bone health. All of those range from optimal, well, from excellent to optimal to exceptional. All right. Very proud of myself, by the way. Then it goes to brain health, and it turns yellow and it says monitor. All right. Then it goes to thyroid function, and it says urgent, severely undertreated. And it says critical finding: your severely undertreated thyroid is the single most important modifiable factor affecting your health span. This requires urgent attention and is likely contributing to your cognitive symptoms, slow reaction time, verbal memory deficit, and may be accelerating brain aging despite your otherwise exceptional protective factors.
It really is amazing.
I mean, like,
and
are you kidding me? Like,
this is consistent with your understanding based on medical professionals and so on.
I've gone to endocrinologists, I've gone to neurologists, I've gone to radiologists. I mean, I've gone to primary care, I've gone to functional medicine. This is fact. And the crazy part is, even the best functional doc I've ever seen has never had the bandwidth to ingest all of this information to be able to put it all together in this story. Okay? So this is just the executive summary. And there's actually more in the chat. There's another report I need to create that I haven't even created yet that like is also there. Then it goes into cardiovascular disease, and it shows that I have optimal, low risk, optimal, excellent, good, optimal. These are my, and then it says it's all low risk. Everything's in the green. Everything's good. All right. And then this is the cool part. It did a time horizon of my results on each of these. All right. So on ApoB, LPA had inflammation, all these things. Okay. But here's the crazy thing. It says notable achievement. Your ApoB improved 21% from 94 to 74, moving from borderline high to optimal. This significantly reduces your lifetime risk of cardiovascular disease. Okay? Like it like actually went in and looked at my results and called that out. And when you look at the chat, if you look at the chat itself, like, you know, my whole dialogue that I had with Claude, it actually commended me for improving some of my key cholesterol markers from May to June, but no, I just need to say this. I actually focused on that. Remember how I did superpower or superhuman? Remember I did that last year? I did superhuman. At the time, I was still introducing beef back into my diet, and I was eating more of it than I ever had. Like I had in 8 years. You know, I was a vegan, vegetarian, all those things. So many of us have been. started introducing meat. And last summer, in May, we were eating a fair bit of red meat that I was getting through a company that claims it's all grass-fed. I have heard since that they are not source verifying. So this gets into system B. And what's fascinating about this is I was really thrown off when I got my cholesterol results, because the only thing that had changed for my cholesterol to spike like that was the intake of red meat. There was nothing else that I was doing any differently. Okay. Like nothing. Here's the crazy part. That was superhuman. Then I did or else it was the other way around. Then I did Prenuvo, which gave me another set of data. It may have been the other way around. I think I did Prenuvo and then superhuman, superpower, whatever it's called. And it dropped because I stopped eating that red meat. Now I'm really excited because tomorrow I'm getting my blood work drawn from using Aura. And I'm hoping I get another cholesterol reading to see if it's gotten any better, because I've pretty much cut the red meat back out. So anyways, which I know red meat is not bad. It's just I need to get a better source, which we know the regenerative farmers, and I need to reach out to them at a time. Okay, so this is cardiovascular disease. Then I go to metabolic dysfunction, right? It tells me that my A1C is optimal. It tells me my fasting insulin is excellent. It tells me my fasting glucose is optimal. My visceral fat is exceptional. My body fat percentage is excellent. My liver fat is normal. And my last calculated number is optimal. Okay, so now what's interesting is it calls out your visceral fat, which is in the 5th percentile, is exceptionally low. Prenuvo research demonstrates. Now this is what's crazy. It pulls this stuff together. Prenuvo research demonstrates a strong correlation between visceral fat and brain volume. Higher visceral fat is associated with lower brain volumes. Your near zero visceral fat is highly protective for brain health.
Wow.
Then it talks about insulin sensitivity. Your fasting insulin of 3.7 indicates excellent insulin sensitivity. This is one of the most important markers for longevity and metabolic health. Combined with your A1C of 5%, you have essentially zero risk of type 2 diabetes. Now we go, this is what scared the crap out of me. So this is what I texted you about last night, and I think this is really important, is when I first saw the results of my neuro, and what people don't know is my mom is in the latest stages of dementia. She's only 78, and it's horrifying to see what she's going through. And so I am absolutely terrified of Alzheimer's dementia. Okay, now hers is supposedly vascular, but nonetheless, this is a particular sore spot for me and fear factor. I got this, and as I told you, after I read this, we've been trying to kind of do some things health-wise, sauna, I don't wear anything in a cold plunge, but I really want a hyperbaric, because I did that when I had the mold exposure, made a huge difference. But it's so expensive to buy an in-home hyperbaric. I read this last night, and Carter, I was like, maybe I need to buy a hyperbaric chamber, right? Because I was like, I will spend whatever I need to avoid, because I had the signal. It gave me a friggin' signal about my damn brain, right? Versus like, well, your risk is low, just keep doing these things. It was like, hey, guess what? You should be concerned about these areas, right? Like, it freaked me out. So it talks about, basically my brain is kind of, from a brain structure perspective, it's like, meh, I don't love that, right? And thankfully the cognitive performance, otherwise you and I wouldn't be talking. Thankfully, somehow, even though my brain is kind of meh, my cognitive performance is fairly excellent with some low spots. And this goes into it, right?
Yeah.
Summarizes it. Then cancer, low risk, talks about body composition, inflammation, insulin sensitivity, my HPV screening, and my Prenuvo full body MRI. And it basically said everything was normal and I have a low risk of cancer. Then it goes into this fascinating. It talks about my thyroid, right? This is the urgent action required. It shows a trend. Look at this. Starts in 2021, and it shows me what my TSH, my free T4, my free T3, and my TPO were. It shows the trend, right? From here all the way up to where I was in July of last year, which was 9. And it basically says, you've gone from monitor, I had one good reading, and now I merge it. It's crazy, right? I won't go through all this. It goes through kind of mortality, my VO2 max test. I had a VO2 max test done in 2023, so I put that in.
Your VO2 max is off the charts.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, I'm very proud of myself. It's the highest category for my age. 45.8, which for a 53-year-old woman ain't bad. Then it gives me my priority actions, right? And it actually gives me a protocol. It says I should address my TSH. I need this week to schedule a prescriber appointment to discuss dose increase or to take something. It talks about the fact that I'm folate deficient. I should start taking methylfolate. It gives me an amount. It's telling me I should increase and take a vitamin D supplement. It's telling me I should continue to do something about my ferritin. It's telling me to deal with my hormones, right? Because I'm perimenopausal and my estrogen, my estradiol is like crazy, always has been. And then it just says to continue to optimize my aerobic efficiency. But it's like giving me a plan, right? But then, like we talked about, I was freaked out over the brain thing, right? Like that really freaked me out. So any more questions on?
Well, you're doing a cheaper solution. You got a cheaper solution than a hyperbolic chamber.
Well, so that's kind of where I was at, right? And then I was like, would they even recommend a hyperbaric? Like what, right? What would even, well, first I was like, I need to understand this better. Like I need to understand what the hell's going on with my brain. Okay. So now let me stop sharing. So then I went into Claude and let me tell you what the next prompt was that I said.
Yeah. Let's glance through a little bit so that people understand the dialogue.
Okay. With Claude? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. While you're describing it in screen share, I'm just going to step away for a quick second.
Okay. All right. So now I'm back in Claude for anyone that's watching. So now I'm back in Claude, and this was basically how things were going. Like, you know, I think I told everybody I was running through this, updating data. So I think what's important to understand is if you go through the history, you'll see that I kept adding data. So like here, I said, can you update this to incorporate the most recent files that I've added to the project files? And then it went through and it updated my data. Female updated from the July 2025 data. And it actually told me, right, here are the major wins with that new updated data. And it told me what it had added into everything to get a much clearer picture. Then I freaked out about the brain, right? Like I said to everybody, and then went to bed, of course, freaked out, which is never a good way to go to bed. Added more data today, and then decided that I wanted to ask for a deep dive into the brain. So then I said, can you go back? Oh, here. Then I asked it again, updated it again. So I did like 4 or 5 different iterations of this report. And then I said, can you do a deep dive into my brain using my Beam report and Prenuvo and any other cognitive information from the files I've uploaded? So I literally just asked it to do a deep dive. So this is the prompt. And now let me stop sharing.
So as other people are using this and you're uploading it and asking a question, it gives you a sense that you can sort of keep prompting it and engaging with it.
So
and tell it your uncertainties and your concerns, and the other thing is you don't need to be precise. You can sort of be. You don't need to be precise, and it'll help guide you and figure it out.
Yeah. So then let me just make sure this is the right thing that I'm opening up because it's sequential here.
As you're bringing that up, I'll say that when we think about the disruption that's going on here, we've got people like a Function Health that's been accelerating this conversation to say, get these blood tests, do these things. Well, but a challenge I might put on Function Health is, they might early bird catches the worm, second mouse gets the cheese. Are they the second? It's the second mouse. Are they triggering that kind of response? But when you really get down to it, the technologies get scaled so quickly, it's going to run away from them. And between OpenAI And these other tools, they're going to open up the ability for people to ask these questions, and even faster than the regulators and faster than the doctors. And a lot of people fear that and say that's awful. But when we've got 40% of people undiagnosed for type 2 diabetes, and when people only get the standard of care in something like chronic disease like 20% of the time, asking everybody to wait for the precise answer out of the healthcare community is a bit of a challenge. Instead of, there are people that want to get healthier and they want to explore and learn more to cut down their fear factor and their confusion about it.
Absolutely.
I don't know which way this is going to play out. I personally think it's good to enable people with these kind of tools, but I'm one person.
I get. I mean, this is like the earliest days, right? Like you and I were talking, we both had to send inquiries into HealthX over this. And I think we were
competing with their customer support team to try to get a couple little things. They're working hard on it, but
yeah, because we were finding glitches that they didn't know existed until we started testing out the connectivity.
Yeah. So
okay, so then right, so I showed them what my prompt was to ask for a deep dive on the brain side. And now it gave me a deep dive assessment. And it first shows you these were the four different tests that it tapped into that I had uploaded, right? It put my conditions in here. And then these were the data sources. And then this is the executive summary, which I thought was fascinating. So your brain is structurally intact with no pathological atrophy. Great. Cognitive testing shows above average overall function with specific targetable weaknesses in verbal memory and reaction time. The QEEG reveals functional connectivity issues in exactly the brain regions responsible for those deficits. So I've had a Prenuvo scan where the doctor said, here, like the Prenuvo doc, right, told me that. I had a functional health doc that had done the EEG, and he had given me his advice. Now this takes both of those, puts it together and says, oh yeah, they're telling a story. Right? I didn't have to figure that out. It told me, oh yeah, these things make sense. This is a common thing. And then says, by the way, that friggin' TSH, that thyroid issue, that can actually really help you out here because the symptoms these deficiencies that are happening are directly linked to thyroid function. So it's like, wake up, lady. And guess what I did, Carter? Do you know what I did after all this? First thing I did was I went online to figure out, because I've taken Synthroid, I've taken Armorol, I've done all the shit, and I didn't feel like it ever really made a difference. So I don't take it because you know me, I'm not a big drug taker. I want to get it from my food. I want my body to function. But my thyroid is damaged, and I know this. I've had biopsies on it. I have a couple nodules. Like I get it. So I'm like, fine, I will go find my thyroid medicine. So I go in. I'm like, can I just get this online? Are we at a point? This is where my brain goes. Are we at a point now where I don't even have to deal with a doctor? And I know what level I need. I've done it before. I just need a refill in essence, right? And then I need to get my levels tested every 3 months and 30 days. And I know the symptoms, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to see somebody for this. It's a waste of everyone's time. And do you know that I could have for $22, I could have gone in, requested it was like $60 for the medicine, for the Armorol. And then I could have, through that process, it would have charged me $22 and they would have had a prescriber approve it and submit that prescription. I wouldn't even had to have gone to the doctor.
Is that good or bad?
I think that's bad, but it's reality.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of that?
Can you get gray market peptides at the same time?
I'm sure you can.
I think the meth dealers are going to make more money selling gray market peptides.
I agree. So, okay. But that's kind of a big deal, right? So then I went back into my house and I found Armorol. I mean, not Armorol. I found, I guess it is Armorol. I think I'm saying it wrong. Anyways, I got it's not Armorol.
So will you go to a provider?
No.
I won't. Blood work?
I got my, or I can request it through, I can self-refer through Quest now. And I went through Aura, and I went through my Aura, and I have all that blood work happening tomorrow, which was another thing we haven't talked about. In Aura, there's a place that says health panels over in the setting, over in the like menu section. And when you click on it, it offers you the opportunity to pay. It was until January something. It's like $77, and you pay the $77. It's 60 biomarkers. It's integrated directly with Quest scheduling. You go in, it tells you when the appointments are available. You pay your 77, you schedule it, you pay your $77, and then it reminds you every day that you have your lab work coming up. So tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., I'm getting my labs drawn, and then they will go directly into Aura. I mean, that's why we're not at JPM. What kind of innovation is healthcare going to pull out of the hat to compete with that?
Yeah, I don't know. They better run and ask somebody to do something about HIPAA and a lot of other things, because and the new entrants, we always say in startups, early bird catches the worm, second mouse gets the cheese. Yahoo lost to Google. So we've seen first movers in this path, and then we've got traditional healthcare, System B traditional healthcare. We've got Function Health stepping in, trying to decide if it's System C or it's System B. And to a degree, there's sort of System B easier access.
Maybe. Yes. I would say that Health Tap is a good example of System B with easier access and a much lower cost point of entry. It's virtual primary care.
Yeah.
So instead of virtual care, it's virtual primary care. And as a result, the cost model is dramatically lower, but it's traditional System B healthcare delivery.
It always goes back to that, which is important. I mean, we've got 60% of people don't have no specific things that need to be treated. 35% have to be treated intensively with chronic care, and then the rest are acute or something like that. And so there are people that need that acute situation, but there are many people who are not being treated at all for the maladies they have and chronic disease that they have, and that's affecting their lifespan and their health span. And solving those before they become worse chronically, the question we've sort of got to toss around here is it who's going to be early bird catches the worm, second mouse gets the cheese? How's this?
How is it going to play out?
Where there are a whole bunch of people paying attention to function. Function may be ephemeral in this conversation. They may not want to hear that, but Quest in a matter of time is going to be providing these tests cleanly.
Well, they're already doing it. They're doing it in the background. I mean, Quest and LabCorp are. I mean, Prenuvo referred me to, I think it was LabCorp, and Aura sent me over to Quest.
Well, and I could easily get on Claude Code, get into the Claude browser tool, tell it to go to Function Health, figure out everything that Function Health is doing in their website, and write a new website that does exactly the same. This is me like a programmer at Quest.
Totally.
Replicate all of that, and then in a day probably have a website, and maybe not a day, but
no, if it was you, it would be a day.
But essentially, the speed at which we can accelerate development, the speed at which knowledge workers can start articulating this stuff and leaning in, is going to accelerate it, which leads back to first principle. And what I've sort of, my accumulated perspective over the last month is, we've always said that we've got to do this by measured outcomes. The validation here is not whether a doctor told you to do it, or whether you ate the right stuff, or you followed Peter Thiel's, or Peter
Attia.
as diet, or it is the right thing is your body needs the right signals given your genetics, given environmental
Correct.
epigenetic factors, given other factors that have now influenced you. And the measure of success here is not whether you followed HIPAA or you only got your advice from your doctor. The real true measure of success in a first principle and of one world is, did you get your TSH back?
TSH.
Did you get it back in check? Did any of these things get mediated? And I think that means it's less about function health in its current form.
Correct.
And more about whether, if we pay attention to the outcomes in the human, and the human can say, I did this and it changed. And then people are like, well, you can't affect people's behavior. If people do something and they see an observable change that's more like what they want, you pretty quickly can choose to change human behavior.
So that's all it takes is a signal.
And somebody choosing to do something different as a result of getting the right signal is also a benefit, just as it is a doctor telling you that you should change your behavior. I mean, all of these go into the, in the chicken soup, the carrots, celery, the salt, whatever it is, all sort of combined into the right chicken soup.
I mean, my dad, I'll give you a perfect example of that. My dad loves to ride his bike. He's 80 and he works out. He runs multiple times a week. He has a Bowflex that he uses every day, sometimes twice a day. It's how he uses to manage all the stuff that he's trying to deal with, right, with what's going on. And he stopped riding his bike because, and this happens all the time, his PSA level started to creep up. And so the doctor was like, I'm concerned, whatever. And he's like, okay, well, this is what happens when I ride my bike. So I'll stop riding my bike. The doctor's like, okay, stop riding your bike. Let's see what happens. So my dad had to give up riding his bike, but he did, because he saw the number, right? So he got off of his bike, and now for 6 months, I think it was 3 months, he hasn't ridden his bike, and his PSA has dropped down to the level that the doctor wants. So my dad came over and he said, I'm done with this. I'm not going to, the PSA is not telling us whether I'm getting prostate cancer. Right? It's elevated because I'm riding my bike.
Because it's being bothered.
Correct. So I'm going to get back on my friggin' bike because that's better for me and my health than not being on the bike, because I don't want the PSA level to go up. And I think this is where it gets into personalized medicine and N of one health, where, to me, Carter, I just got it. We talked about this before we got on this call. I spent, all told, maybe 5 hours, and I got the most robust, personalized N of one health plan I've ever had in my entire life.
And it cost you probably it probably was about $1 or less. It wasn't even $1. It was probably about a 20-cent call on Claude. Plus your time to load all this data in, which you've had to load in 1,000 times into different systems.
But I stopped. Here's the thing. I stopped loading it in. Not only that, I would say 90% of the time, I'm not even allowed to load the data in. 90% of the time, the patient portals do not have a bidirectional flow. It will push data to me. I can access data that it gives me. I cannot upload data to it.
Well, and this data, if patients have the data, they then are empowered to get the job done. So one of the things that HealthX is trying to do, their general business model is patients should have their data and they should provide it back to the people they want. They should provide it back to them for their own healthcare, but they also should be able to provide it to people doing studies. And, unbeknownst to many people, it's hard to get people on opted into studies, finding the right patients. And if people want to, donate their data to science and contribute to those things, so that advances science,
you should be able to.
There's data. There are groups that have PCOS, or we don't think those are real things yet. there are those people. They want the data. We now have citizen scientists, so some to speak, doing public health data. We have one of our companies, Holobiome, which is doing some of the most breakthrough RCS kind of work on microbiome, is also working with citizen scientists to have them explore it. And we're sort of getting rid of this sort of structure. The other thing we posted, I can't remember when we posted this, maybe I didn't post it here, posted it somewhere else, was even researchers. There's a recent sort of discussion, a paper about academic research that noted that, I don't know, there were like 10 or 12 different researchers constantly doing research around new compression technology for MRI data.
Yep.
It allows you to.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this before. Yep.
It will reduce 90% of the time that takes to take an MRI. And one of them was like, I'm tired of writing papers. I'm just going to go create a company. And then he created a company. And all the other researchers are making $500,000 a year writing papers about it. And he decided to actually do something about it. It's getting no academic accolades at it, no NIH grants, no. NIH keeps spending the money on people writing studies, but he really did it. Now, that we'll tie that back to Musk. So Musk the other day, over Christmas time, said everybody should get an MRI. And a whole bunch of people said, that's stupid, it's not indicated, and they, to some degree, they're right. But if an MRI cost goes from $3,000 to $200, should people not get an MRI? And we don't ask that question. That's a little bit closer to first principle. It's not you shouldn't get an MRI. The reason why people say don't get an MRI because it might be wrong and give you a false positive, or it's a lot of money to spend and that money's better spent on some other thing. Well, if there's a researcher, if there a whole bunch of money at NIH is going to researchers to publish information about how to compress MRI data in a particular way to speed up the MRI process, and all they're doing is writing papers and putting it on PubMed, and nobody's translating it to something. We don't know that if an MRI costs $200 a shot, whether it changes health outcomes. We don't know because we never have that option. And then when somebody like Pronovo comes out and they do it and they miss something, everybody jumps their shit on it, which is bad. I mean, it's bad that they notionally, if they in fact miss something, but we're missing a lot when hundreds of thousands of people can't buy an MRI for $200 and maybe make some decisions for themselves. What you've done for probably 50 cents of compute time, if that, is taking data you've had for years.
10 to be exact.
And what? What have you done now? Where are you mentally? You're already sort of a nutcase on this stuff already, so it may not count. Selection bias.
I'm clear on my marching orders. I need to continue. My diet.
Thyroid medicine. You've convinced yourself you should do that.
Let me answer your question.
Yeah.
My exercise, I'm nailing it. And I got to keep that up. And I need to get stronger. And I need to keep going on my VO2 max. All right. I was living in the mountains when I had that.
VO2 max, by the way, but go ahead.
What's that?
You're a little insane. Visceral fat and VO2 max. So you're like, a totally different universe than most humans. But Correct. Keep going.
So I want to keep that going because at least I have that going for me. I don't climb mountains every day anymore, but at least I got that going for me. So the cardiovascular component of this, right? The cardiometabolic, so then the metabolic component of this. So food, I feel like, okay, I got my diet dialed in, right? Like, could I get better? Yes. Cause I'd like to, muscle, all those fun things, but like my body fat percentage, top, what was it? Best 20%.
You're visceral down to 0.25,
almost zero.
Like that, or
yeah, it was according to the DEXA thing, it was like, correct. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so what I walked away with is you're crushing it on the fitness side, keep it up. You're crushing it on the nutrition side, keep it up. you got real issues on the brain side that you need to pay attention to. And then from a thyroid perspective, you got to really get your stuff figured out because that's driving the brain too. So that's what I walked away with, was like, you got to focus on the brain. You got to do everything. You got to throw everything you can at your brain.
And then here's another point on this. You're not really part of the healthcare revenue system.
I am completely outside now. I am completely outside.
I can make a really radical statement, a really...
Other than LabCorp, if you can, are we going to segment LabCorp and Quest as System B LabCorp and Quest and System C LabCorp?
I'm sorry. I just want to make this sort of weird statement, and that is, you're the Uber passengers that didn't take taxis.
Correct.
So when Uber came out, people said the San Francisco market for taxis is $400 million a year. Are you going to just take share from those taxis? And they're like, I don't know if they said after the fact, but they're like, no, because they found out the actual market was 700 million. There were 300 million revenue that wasn't getting adjudicated because it wasn't convenient. It wasn't the right time. I couldn't find to get the cab there. The price wasn't right. The travel time wasn't right. The shit, whatever. All the combination of addressable market didn't appear in the market, and everybody thought it was a $400 million market. So there are a bunch of people out there who are consumers of this stuff. Now, they're going to be consumers of stuff that has outcome. And, it creates an early adopters market. If you can get around HIPAA and all those kinds of things and sort of break the mold, and System B constantly sort of stuck in sort of a HIPAA mold. You got to come to this facility. You got to do this. So one of the things we're seeing with a lot of these companies is, while they may not be what we would consider a System C thinkers, they still sort of take you back to healthcare. They are taking the friction out of people who are not in the healthcare system of getting their own drugs, getting their own treatment, getting their own diagnosis, for the portion of their effort to stay pre-chronic, to stay out of the system. And the tools that doctors use, I think, are just becoming more readily available. And it's really going to create... I think I know which way this is going to end up. We need a lot less doctors.
Well, it's going to commoditize. I mean, this truly commoditizes physicians outside of like the concierge level or the Graham Walkers of the world, right? The ER docs, the truly acute, highly specialized, or, I mean, it's just AI in general, though. I mean, think about it.
Don't throw Graham under the bus.
I'm saying Graham will do, like, he's special.
There will be points of entry. And I think it'll allow people to... That point of entry won't be overloaded with noise.
No.
So you'll have less people coming in with urgent care matters or things like that, and the job will become more specialized. There's that report over the holidays where someone showed up in the Canadian system and sat in the room for 8 hours, and then as soon as he finally saw the doctor with chest pain for 8 hours, dropped dead from a heart condition because the doctors weren't attentive to him. Small amount of cases end up that way, but all those kinds of things from the front, if doctors can concentrate on treating acute and seriously chronic.
Yeah. Now Graham's point too is, like, the jury's a little bit out here. It's a lot out, but his point the other day, yesterday when I started talking about this, before I had gotten any of the summary back, I was just trying to figure out how to use it. I posted just that part about it. And Graham's point was, it'd be nice if people would stop coming into the ER and admitting that they've basically ignored all the symptoms that they shouldn't have been ignoring all this time. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and this doesn't address that. Like, that's a whole other issue. I won't cover that today, but that is an issue. This doesn't fix that part of it. but it does fix the I want to learn earlier. Now, as you've talked about, I'm quite the outlier. Like, okay, perfect example, my husband. He wants this kind of a report. Well, guess what? He hasn't done any of the testing.
You've got it in a sense. We're up to an hour here, so maybe we'll cut it for the next episode. But this is allowing people to ask questions and understand things that they did not understand before. The ability to get more data the friction is going away. Now the question, and so that's all goodness. And you're a referenceable early adopter. And so a job I think we should do next and offer anybody is if somebody wants to sit down and go through this themselves, we'll sit down with you. I think now is the time to invest for us to truly understand N of 1 on a first principle basis. We have to get as close to N of 1 first principle as we possibly can. We're more than willing to do that with anybody. We're not giving diagnosis or anything like that. But if people want to get control of their data and walk through this, we're glad to get on a Zoom. When we post this as an article, we'll put a link up.
Yeah, but I think, okay, we got to be careful of opening up the floodgates of time. Like, I mean,
we'll figure that out.
I know. I just want to be honest with everybody that there's like some logistics to Carter's point about whether or not it's going to like forever be for everybody. And anyways,
yeah, we're whatever. You can throw money.
You might have to be like a paid subscriber or something. We'll figure that stuff out.
But if you're paid, we've got some good paid subscribers. So become a paid subscriber and we'll sit down with you or something like that. I don't know, but it is time and we have other jobs, but it is an important.
No, it is. We need more people.
My intent is to be at the forefront of understanding this and being able to maximize the information flow to find the investment opportunity.
Agreed.
And to explain it to other investors so that we bring more capital at this and transform the system before it blows up.
So, to your point, I'm going to stop.
That's the job for 2026.
Agreed. So I'm going to stop sharing. We'll call this part 1. And then I will just tee up for anybody that has made it this far. We will go through the rest of the report, talk about what the brain piece actually told me. And then the third thing I did was after I learned about the brain, I was like, oh my gosh, to the hyperbaric point, what do I need to do? Like, do I need to just start drinking olive oil out of the jar? Do I need to do I need to go get an oxygen tank and just start like sucking it in? And I understand it needs to be pressurized.
Well, if anybody's got, we can put a scorecard up and people can vote for what Ellen should do next. It'll be like voting her off the island or something.
But here's the cool part. So I'll give a prelude, and then I want to close with a really fitting JP Morgan point.
I got to get coding. It's
time for coding for you. I got to walk the dog, and I have to bring my nervous system down because this I learned. I'm very proud. You know that 2026 I've been focused. I'm now on 22 days of either meditating in the morning and or meditating at night for at least 10 minutes. Very proud of myself.
You're doing OnlyFans in your shower for somebody with a UAV.
Apparently somebody has seen me showering. My husband claims that like somebody would want to see this. I, of course, am like, no, I'm a 53-year-old woman. You don't, But here's the interesting thing. So I then asked, great, you've now told me that my brain is a bit scary. We all know this, scary place to live. But now, like structurally, whatever. Now what do I do, right? And so I really like the Scherzeyes. They are a globally recognized couple that are at the forefront of Alzheimer's research. I had the absolute honor of interviewing them on the Reverse Mullet podcast a year ago. And they are just the most delightful people. I want to get them on this show. I know they'll come on with us. I wanted to hear I was like, I need to go read what they would tell me to do. And then Dr. Bredesen, right? My functional doc who does a lot of brain work, he's with that. I was like, okay, I want him. And then Walter Longo to start with. So I'm like, I got to pull those books out because I have all the books and then I was like, wait a minute. I wonder if I create a prompt and say, if you take this detailed data, what would my recommendations be with those 3 doctors? And it blew my
That'd
mind.
be cool app to build. That'd be cool app to build.
It would be, but it did it. It gave me a protocol. So I now have a protocol using my 3 favorite docs, and it basically gave me doc by doc their approach, and then what my data looks like in their approach and what they would say to do. And then the last section, it aggregated all that together and gave me summarized recommendations combining all 3, which I will share in part 2 of this. So to close this down, in part 1, somebody who I absolutely adore, this is a kind of a function, this guy's a functional doc, really would really thrive in System C. He has been just beaten down to no end in System B. I met him last year at JP Morgan. At my tea ceremony sauna day that kicked off JP Morgan for me unexpectedly, he wrote this: excited to be at JPM 26 this week. This is the one of the most important gatherings of the year for healthcare, health span, and longevity. Amazing density of people, ideas, and conversations, and it is always energizing to reconnect with colleagues and meet new partners who are shaping where this field is going. There is also an irony that comes at JPM and most conferences. Despite all the focus on health, prevention, and longevity, the schedule and setting can make it surprisingly difficult to take care of your own health. Long days, constant meetings, limited movement, inconsistent light exposure, late nights, and food options that rarely reflect what we recommend. Living the principles we talk about requires intention. Looking forward to thoughtful conversations, meaningful connections, and doing my best to practice what we all advocate.
Cool.
All right.
Great.